Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. The space station buzzed with noise. Voices shouted, machines hummed, and feet shuffled through the crowded market. Aliens of every shape and color pushed past each other, trading shiny tech, strange fruits, and even living beings. In the center of the chaos stood a tall platform, lit by harsh white lights. It was the slave auction, where people bought and sold those with no hope left. On the platform stood Lyra, an alien mother from a faraway planet. Her skin, once a bright blue, was now dull, marked with scars from a war that destroyed her home. Her large, golden eyes looked tired, and her thin arms trembled as she held her child, Kale, close. Kale was small, with tiny hands gripping Lyra's tattered cloak. His big eyes, like his mother's, darted around, scared of the loud crowd. The auctioneer, a fat man with a cruel smile, raised his voice. Next lot. A female alien and her child. Rare species, but look at her, broken, weak, useless. He laughed, pointing at Lyra's scars. The crowd muttered, shaking their heads. Some whispered she couldn't work. Others said her strange looks made her untrustworthy. No one raised a hand to bid. Lyra's heart sank. She had escaped her burning planet, carrying Kale through danger, only to end up here. She had hoped someone would see her worth, not just her scars. But as the minutes passed, no one spoke. Kale whimpered, his small body shaking. Lyra whispered to him, "It's okay, my star. We'll be okay." But her voice cracked. She wasn't sure she believed her own words. The auctioneer grew impatient. No bids? Not even one? Fine, take her away. She's worth nothing. He waved his hand, ready to push Lyra off the platform. The crowd turned away, already looking for the next lot. Lyra's shoulders slumped. She hugged Kale tighter, her hope fading like a dying star. Then, a voice broke through the noise. "Wait," it said, clear and steady. The crowd froze. Heads turned to see who spoke. At the edge of the platform stood a man, a human. He was tall but thin, with messy brown hair and worn-out clothes. His name was John, a mechanic who fixed ships to survive. He carried no fancy gear, just a small bag of tools slung over his shoulder. His eyes, a soft brown, locked onto Lyra's. "I'll take her," John said, raising his hand. The crowd gasped. Whispers spread like fire. Why would a poor human want a broken alien? What could he gain? The auctioneer squinted at John, suspicious. You've got no money, mechanic. You sure about this?" John nodded, his face calm but firm. "I'm sure. Her and the kid, they come with me." His voice didn't waver, but his hands shook slightly, betraying his nerves. Lyra stared at him, her heart pounding. She didn't trust humans. She had seen them destroy, cheat, and lie. Why was this one different? What did he want from her? The auctioneer shrugged, eager to move on. "Fine. They're yours. Don't come crying when you regret it." He handed John a digital contract, and John signed it quickly, his eyes never leaving Lyra. The crowd kept whispering, some laughing, some shaking their heads. A rich alien in the back sneered, "That fool's throwing his life away for nothing." John stepped onto the platform, ignoring the stares. He knelt in front of Lyra, his voice low. "Come with me. You'll be safe." Lyra clutched Kale, her golden eyes searching John's face for a trick. She saw no anger, no greed, just something soft, something she couldn't name. But fear still gripped her. She had been betrayed before. As John led her and Kale through the crowd, Lyra's mind raced. Was this humankind, or was he hiding something? Would he sell them later? Kale looked up at her, his small hand squeezing hers. "Mama, is he good?" he whispered. Lyra didn't answer. She didn't know. They reached the edge of the market, where John's small ship waited. It was old, patched with mismatched metal, barely holding together. John opened the door and turned to Lyra. "This is home for now," he said. But before Lyra could step inside, a shadow moved in the crowd. A tall figure watched them, eyes glinting with interest. Lyra's skin prickled. Something felt wrong. The hum of John's old ship filled the air as it floated away from the noisy space station. The ship was small, its walls patched with rusty metal, and the lights flickered now and then. Inside, Lyra sat on a hard bench, holding her son, Kale, tightly. Her golden eyes scanned every corner, searching for danger. Kale's tiny hands clutched her cloak, his small body still shaking from the market's chaos. Lyra whispered to him, "We're okay now, my star." But her heart wasn't sure. John stood at the ship's controls, his hands moving fast to steer through the crowded space lanes. He glanced back at Lyra and Kale, his face soft but tired. "You must be hungry," he said, his voice gentle. He opened a metal box and pulled out 2 packets of food, simple protein bars, nothing fancy. He handed them to Lyra, who stared at them like they might be a trick. "Go on, eat," John said, smiling a little. "It's not much, but it's safe." Lyra hesitated. She had seen kindness before, and it always came with a price. Her mind flashed back to her planet, where fire rained from the sky. She remembered her family, gone in the war, and how she carried Kale through burning streets to escape. Trust had cost her everything once. She wouldn't let it happen again. Still, Kale's stomach growled, and his big eyes looked up at her. She broke the bar in half, gave him a piece, and watched him eat before taking a small bite herself. John sat across from them, wiping grease from his hands. "I'm John," he said. "Just a mechanic. I fix ships to get by. This one's mine, but it's all I've got." He patted the wall, and a loose panel rattled. "No family, no home but this. When I saw you in the market, I couldn't walk away. You looked like you needed someone." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Why?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Why help us? What do you want?" Her hand slid to a small tool she'd picked up in the market, a sharp piece of metal hidden in her cloak. If John tried anything, she'd fight. John leaned back, not angry, just sad. "I know what it's like to lose everything," he said. "My family died in a war, too. Not aliens, but humans fighting humans. I was alone after that. I saw your kid, and," he paused, looking at Kale. "I couldn't let you stay in that place." Lyra wanted to believe him, but fear held her back. She'd heard stories of humans who bought aliens to sell them later for profit. Was John one of them? Kale finished his food and curled up against her, his eyes heavy. Lyra stayed awake, watching John as he worked on the ship's controls. Hours passed, and the ship grew quiet. Kale slept, his soft breaths calming Lyra's heart. She stood to stretch, still clutching the hidden tool. As she moved, she heard voices outside the ship. John was at the back, talking to someone through a small hatch. Lyra crept closer, careful not to wake Kale. She peeked through a crack in the wall and saw a tall alien with dark scales, a trader from the market. "You've got that broken alien," the trader said, his voice low. "Her kind's rare. I'll pay you good money for her. More than you'll ever make fixing ships." Lyra's heart raced. She gripped the tool tighter, her breath shallow. John shook his head. "She's not for sale," he said firmly. "Neither is the kid. Leave us alone." The trader laughed, cold and sharp. "You're a fool, human. Keep her, and you'll have trouble. Big trouble." He stepped back into the shadows, his eyes glinting. John closed the hatch and turned, freezing when he saw Lyra watching. "You heard that?" he asked, his voice quiet. Lyra nodded, her hands still on the tool. John sighed. "I'm not selling you. I promise." But Lyra didn't answer. She backed away, her mind spinning. Was he lying? Was he waiting for a better deal? Or was he really different? As John returned to the controls, Lyra sat beside Kale, her eyes never leaving John. The trader's warning echoed in her head. Trouble was coming, she could feel it. She looked at Kale, sleeping peacefully, and wondered if she should run or if, for the first time, she could trust someone. The ship hummed on, but the air felt heavy with secrets. The ship rattled through the dark void of space, its engines groaning like an old beast. Inside, Lyra sat beside Kale, who slept on a thin blanket, his small chest rising and falling. Her golden eyes watched John at the ship's controls. The human's hands moved quickly, fixing a flickering panel. Lyra's fingers still gripped the sharp tool hidden in her cloak. She wanted to trust John, but the traitor's warning echoed in her mind, "Keep her, and you'll have trouble." Her heart felt heavy, torn between hope and fear. John glanced back, his face sweaty but calm. "We're heading to a quiet spot to lay low," he said. "This ship's not fast, but it's tough." Lyra nodded, saying nothing. She thought of her home, a planet of blue skies now burned to ash. She had fought so hard to keep Kale safe, but danger always followed. Was John leading them to safety, or was he part of the danger? The ship docked at a grimy space station port, hidden in the shadows of a massive asteroid. The place was dark, with flickering signs and aliens shouting in strange languages. John led Lyra and Kale to a small room in the ship, filled with tools and wires. "Stay here," he said. "I need to buy parts to fix the engine. I'll be quick." Lyra clutched Kale, her eyes sharp. "Don't be long," she said, her voice low. John nodded and left, locking the door behind him. Lyra sat Kale on a crate and checked the room. She found a small vent, big enough to crawl through if needed. Her mind raced. Could she run if John betrayed them? Kale tugged her sleeve. "Mama, is John good?" he asked, his voice small. Lyra forced a smile. "I don't know yet, my star." She hated lying, but hope was all she had left. A loud bang shook the ship. Lyra froze, pulling Kale close. Voices shouted outside, harsh, angry voices. She peeked through a crack in the wall and saw 3 aliens with dark armor and glowing weapons. One, a tall figure with red eyes, growled, "The humans got the blue-skinned female. Her blood's worth a fortune. Find them." Lyra's heart stopped. Her species had a secret: their blood could heal small wounds, a gift that made them targets. She had hidden it for years, but someone knew. The ship's door hissed open. John ran inside, his face pale. "We've got trouble," he said, grabbing a metal pipe from the floor. "Stay back." Before Lyra could speak, the aliens burst in, their weapons raised. "Give us the female," the leader snarled. John stepped in front of Lyra and Kale, gripping the pipe. "You're not taking them," he said, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. The fight was fast and brutal. John swung the pipe, hitting one alien's arm, making him drop his weapon. Lyra grabbed Kale and ducked behind a crate, her hand on the hidden tool. She wanted to run, but John was fighting for them. The leader lunged at John, knocking him to the floor. A weapon fired, grazing John's shoulder. He grunted but kept fighting, pushing the alien back. Lyra's heart raced. She couldn't just hide. She spotted a loose wire on the floor, part of the ship's broken systems. Moving fast, she grabbed it and jammed it into a panel, sending a spark that shocked another alien. He screamed and fell. John looked at her, surprised. "Nice move," he said, panting. Together, they pushed the last alien out, locking the door. The ship was a mess, wires sparking and panels cracked. John leaned against the wall, clutching his shoulder. "We need to leave now," he said. Lyra stared at him. He had fought for her and Kale, risking his life. But doubt lingered. "Why do this?" she asked. "You could have given me up." John met her eyes. "Because no one deserves to be sold like that. Not you, not him." He nodded at Kale, who peeked from behind the crate. Lyra wanted to believe him, but then she saw it, a blinking light on the control panel, faint but steady. A tracker. Someone was following them. The ship limped through space, its engines coughing as it landed on a quiet planet. The world was small, with dusty red ground and thin trees under a pale sky. John guided the ship to a hidden cave, hoping to stay out of sight. Lyra held Kale close, her golden eyes scanning the dark corners of the cave. The blinking tracker light from the ship still haunted her, but she hadn't told John. She wasn't sure if she could trust him completely, even after he fought for them. John worked on the ship's broken engine, his hands covered in grease. "We'll fix this and move on," he said, his voice tired but steady. "This place is safe for now." Lyra nodded, keeping Cale by her side. The boy's big eyes watched John, curious instead of scared for the first time. Lyra's heart softened, but her hand stayed near the sharp tool in her cloak, just in case. As the sun set, John sat with Cale outside the cave. He showed the boy a small gadget, a broken communicator. "Want to help fix it?" John asked, smiling. Cale hesitated, then nodded, his small hands reaching for the tool John offered. Lyra watched from the ship's door, her chest tight. Cale's smile, small but real, was something she hadn't seen since their home burned. John pointed at the gadget's wires, explaining each one in simple words. Cale listened, his fear fading. That night, Lyra sat with John by a small fire. Cale slept nearby, curled up on a blanket. The quiet felt strange after so much danger. Lyra's voice was low. "Why do you care about us?" she asked. "You don't know us." John stared at the fire, his face heavy with old pain. "I had a family once," he said. "A sister, parents. War took them. I was alone after that. When I saw you and Cale, I saw me. I couldn't leave you to hurt like I did." Lyra's eyes softened. She understood loss too well. "My home was beautiful once," she said, her voice shaking. "Blue skies, warm winds. War came, and it all burned. I carried Cale through the fire. I swore I'd keep him safe, no matter what." She paused, her hand brushing Cale's sleeping form. "I've never told anyone that." John looked at her, his brown eyes kind. "You're strong, Lyra. Stronger than you know." For the first time, Lyra felt a spark of trust. She took a deep breath and decided to share her secret. "My blood, it can heal small wounds. That's why they want me. I hid it to protect Cale." John's eyes widened, but he nodded. "I won't tell anyone," he promised. The next day, John and Lyra worked together to fix the ship. Lyra's knowledge of alien tech surprised John. She rewired a panel, her hands steady despite her scars. "You're good at this," John said, grinning. Lyra almost smiled back. For a moment, they felt like a team. Cale ran between them, carrying small tools, his laughter echoing in the cave. Lyra's heart warmed, but guilt crept in. The tracker's blinking light meant danger was close. She felt it was her fault for bringing trouble to John. That night, Lyra stood guard while John and Cale slept. She checked the ship's controls and saw the tracker light again, blinking faster now. Her stomach twisted. Someone was close. She thought about running to keep John and Cale safe, but Cale's smile stopped her. He was happy here, with John. Could she really leave? Before she could decide, a low hum filled the air. Lights flashed outside the caved ship's landing in the dark. Lyra's heart raced. She saw shadows moving, figures with weapons. Bounty hunters. The tracker had led them here. She ran to John, shaking him awake. "They found us," she whispered, her voice sharp with fear. John grabbed his metal pipe, his face hard. "Hide with Cale," he said. "I'll hold them off." But Lyra shook her head. She pulled out her hidden tool, its sharp edge glinting. "No," she said. "We fight together." John looked at her, surprised, then nodded. They stood side by side, ready to face the hunters. The cave was dark, lit only by the faint glow of John's ship and the flickering firelight. Outside, the hum of bounty hunter ships grew louder, their lights cutting through the dusty air of the quiet planet. Lyra stood beside John, her golden eyes sharp with determination. She gripped her sharp tool, its edge gleaming. Cale huddled behind a crate, his small face pale but brave. John held a metal pipe, his jaw tight. "Stay close," he whispered to Lyra. She nodded, ready to fight for her son and for the human who had saved them. The bounty hunters stormed the cave, their boots pounding the ground. There were 5 of them, armored and armed with glowing rifles. Their leader, a tall alien with red eyes, sneered. "Give us the female, human. Her blood's worth more than your life." Lyra's heart raced. They knew her secret, the healing power in her blood. John stepped forward, his pipe raised. "You're not taking her," he said, his voice steady. The fight exploded. John swung his pipe, knocking a rifle from one hunter's hands. Lyra darted forward, using her tool to slash at another's armor, sparks flying. She moved fast, her scars forgotten in the heat of battle. John tackled a hunter, pinning him down, but a rifle blast hit the ship, sending sparks everywhere. The ship groaned, its lights flickering. Lyra's mind raced, she knew its systems. She ran to a control panel, rewiring it with quick hands. "John, cover me," she shouted. John fought harder, taking a hit to his arm. Blood dripped, but he didn't stop. Lyra finished the rewiring, activating the ship's defense system. A loud buzz filled the cave as the ship fired a pulse, knocking two hunters to the ground. Lyra grabbed John, pulling him behind the crate with Kale. The leader laughed, stepping forward. "You can't win, human. Give her up, or you all die." Lyra's eyes met John's. She saw his pain, his blood, and something snapped inside her. She couldn't let him die for her. She touched his wound, letting a drop of her blood fall on it. The cut closed, healing fast. John's eyes widened. "You didn't have to," he started, but Lyra shook her head. "You fought for us. I fight for you." Together, they charged. Lyra used her tool to disable the leader's rifle, while John tackled him, pinning him down. The last hunters ran, their ships taking off in a panic. The cave fell silent, dust settling around them. The ship was damaged, its panels smoking, but they were alive. Lyra hugged Kale tightly, tears in her eyes. John leaned against the crate, breathing hard, his arm still sore but healed. Later, as they sat by the fire, John spoke quietly. "You and Kale, you don't have to run anymore. Stay with me. Not as property, but as family." He paused, his face shy. "On my world, giving someone your last name means they belong with you. I want you to have mine." Lyra Carter. Kale Carter. Lyra's heart stopped. She had never known a home since her planet burned. She looked at Kale, who smiled at John, his eyes bright. "Can I call you Dad?" Kale asked, his voice small. John grinned, his eyes wet. "Yeah, kid. I'd like that." Lyra's tears fell. She nodded, her voice soft. Lyra Carter. It sounds good. For the first time, she felt safe, not broken. They worked together to fix the ship, Lyra's tech skills and John's strength making it stronger than before. As they prepared to leave, Lyra narrated her thoughts. "I was called broken, worthless. But a human saw me, saw my son, and gave us hope. He gave us his name." The ship lifted off, flying toward a new star, a new future. Kale laughed, holding John's old communicator, now fixed. Lyra smiled, her hand resting on John's shoulder. But as the ship soared, a faint signal blinked on the controls, unnoticed. Far away, the bounty hunter leader, bruised but alive, watched a screen tracking their path. His red eyes glinted with anger. "This isn't over," he growled, his ship turning to follow.